This conference will now be recorded.
Turn my mic up some here. What we want to do today is to begin to look at managerial accounting. We spent the week uh, on unit cost, selling price, and POR. And since you all don't have any questions, I'll have your quiz for that in a couple of minutes. I have your quiz for that in a couple of minutes.
Can we review the equation or how to do the PORs, anything? Can we do a quick review, anything?
Of course, we could always do a review if you all talk and have your cameras on. Okay.
So
What
how do we get our unit cost?
you add all of those costs up. Let
Every
me go
single one?
Let me go through a couple and then we'll look at an example together. So let me see if I can share my screen here and let's do an overview. For the manager accounting cycle, we started the same way we did with financial accounting with this equation: asset equal liabilities plus stockholders' equity. And we said that in this cycle, the first thing we do is determine unit cost and selling price. Then we have to make journal entries and post them to the ledger, prepare the trial balance, prepare the financial statements. We have some new statements to look at: cost of goods manufactured and cost of goods sold. And we layer those on top of the income statement, statement of retained earnings, balance sheet, and statement of cash flows, which we will review on the midterm exams. Some of you all had trouble with it. We want to focus beginning today on the journal entries we make. So we're on step 2 in the cycle, journalizing entries. And what I've done to put some structure to the journal entries, I break them into stages. In stage 1, we acquire raw materials. In stage 2, we transfer the costs to work in process where the goods are going to be produced. So we transfer in the raw materials, add in labor and overhead. In stage 3, we transfer cost of the completed goods from work in process to finished goods. Stage 4, we sell the finished goods. Stage 5, we pay selling, administrative expenses plus dividends. So we want to make sure we're looking at the entire picture as we look at this. Now, in stage 1, we buy the raw materials. This is the journal entry. It never changes. You debit raw materials, inventory, and credit accounts payable. That never changes. In stage 2, when we make the item, we got 3 costs that we record. We're going to record the raw materials that we transferred in that we bought in stage 1. We're going to record the labor, and we're going to record the manufacturing overhead. So those things occur in stage 2. In stage 3, once we've made the item, we transfer all the cost of making it from finished goods to finished goods, from work in process to finished goods. In stage 4, when we sell the item, there's always 2 journal entries. A journal entry to record the sale, debit account receivable, credit sales, and another journal entry to record the cost of the items that we're moving from finished goods to cost of goods sold. So we debit cost of goods sold and credit finished goods. We'll do some other things, but these are the key entries that I want to focus on, though we will in this stage also work with manufacturing overhead, because when we initially record the manufacturing overhead, this is an estimate based on that POR you will learn to calculate. And then once we get the actual manufacturing overhead in, we will record the actual cost. Debit overhead, credit accumulated, depreciation, debit cash. And if there's any difference in this stage from what we estimated, then we're going to close it out to cost of goods sold one way or the other. Either we're going to debit cost of goods sold and credit manufacturing overhead, or we're going to debit manufacturing overhead and credit cost of goods sold, one of the two. And then in stage 3, we're simply going to make the journal entries where we pay selling and administrative expenses and pay dividends. So those are standard entries that we've already looked at. Here's your chart of accounts, 3 more entries for 3 more types of inventory. And 2 statements. And the statement is nothing to be afraid of: raw materials, labor, and overhead, as we gathered up the cost of making it this time period, this term. So this is what we'll be going through all of this week with an example. So let me put up this flow chart to show you the same thing. And this flow chart is in Blackboard. In stage 1, we acquire acquisition of the raw materials. These are the journal entries, and we will have as many journal entries here as the raw materials. For each type of raw materials, we're going to make this entry. In stage 2, we transfer costs to work in process. So in this first entry, if we have 2 raw materials, there'll be 2 transfers. And if there are 3, there'll be 3. Most times in our examples, we'll use 2 raw materials. So you'll have 2 journal entries here for each raw material. Then we will record the labor. Then we will record the estimated overhead. The estimated overhead. We accumulate these costs. And once we finish the item, we transfer in stage 3 the cost from work in process, these costs, to finished goods. Then our ultimate goal is to sell the items. And when we sell the items, we debiting cash or account receivable, and we're crediting sale, debit cash or account receivable, and we're going to credit sales. And because we estimate the overhead, we'll look at this eventually, not overly today, but if there's a difference between the actual overhead costs and the estimated cost, then we're going to adjust that out. Okay, so let's move to our example today. And we'll be working on this example today and next class on Wednesday. And we're going to focus on primarily the first two uh, items in the cycle, coming up with the estimated overhead costs, and we're coming up with unit cost, selling price, and POR. And then once we do that, we're going to make these journal entries. So your first job today is, based on this information, calculate the estimated unit cost, selling price, and POR. Calculate the estimated unit cost, selling price, and POR. I want you to calculate the estimated unit cost, selling price, and POR from this information. We only have one raw material. We have our labor, and we have our total estimated overhead. So take 5 minutes and see if you can calculate estimated unit cost, selling price, and POR in this simple example. So with this information, I want you to calculate estimated unit cost, selling price, and POR. Okay, so do we have it calculated?
The last thing we had to find out was the POR, right?
Right, predetermined overhead rate.
Okay.
Let's start with the unit cost. So you've got your Excel spreadsheet, but sometimes it's just good to make sure you understand what you're doing. The first cost we're gonna have are the raw materials. We only got one, ink, 2 at 10. So when we look at ink, that cost is gonna be $20. That's the ink. The labor, it was 3 hours times 12. So the labor is 36. We work 3 hours times 12. Our manufacturing overhead, we're going to produce 50,000 units. Our overhead is estimated at $600,000. And so to get our overhead, we're going to do what? Divide 600.
Divide.
Divide.
Yep, 600,000 by 50. And how much do we get?
Well,
12.
It should be 12. And now we're going to add these three costs together. 20 for the ink, 36 for the labor, and 12 for the manufacturing overhead. So when we add those three costs together, how much do we get? If you add those three costs together, how much would you get?
68.
68. Any question on how we did that?
Can you go over the manufacturer overhead thing again?
To get the manufacturing overhead,
Mm-hmm.
we take the total overhead, 600,000. This number here, 600,000. We divide it by the quantity to be produced, 50,000. And that's how we got 12. Are there any questions on any of those three numbers now? Can everybody calculate those three numbers now?
Yes. For the for the estimated selling price, since on here it said 3 times, we would do 68 times 3, right?
Correct. Our selling price multiple is 3. And so we're going to multiply 3 times 68. And so what's our selling price going to be?
204.
Your word for it, 204. We just multiply 3 times 68. Everybody see that? So everybody should be able to make those basic calculations. Okay, you should be able to make, so you got the Excel sheet, but I did it in Word, to give you a better understanding. Now, you also have to calculate the predetermined overhead rate. You have to calculate predetermined overhead rate. And there are 4 things that we do. The first thing we do, we bring down the total overhead, 600,000. Everybody see that? 600,000. We bringing down that total overhead. The next thing we're going to do is to bring down the 50,000 quantity that we're making. So you should have no trouble with those 2 steps. We're bringing down the overhead, 600,000. We're bringing down the quantity to be produced, 600,000. The next thing we're going to do is to bring down our labor productivity rate. And in this problem, it's 3. The labor productivity rate is 3. So we see the 3. We go up here and see what's in here, and it's 3. But it's not 3 books per hour. It's what? 3 hours per book. It's 3 hours per book. So if it takes us 3 hours, to make a book, and we got 50,000 to make, it's probably going to take us what? 150,000 hours to make these books. If we multiply in this step to get to 36, we're going to multiply here. The final thing we're going to do is divide line 1 by line 4, the total overhead by the 150. And so what is our POR going to be?
4.
Are there any questions?
How did you get the 150,000? You divided the 600,000 by the 500?
How do we get to 150?
Yeah.
Okay. We've got to it takes 3 hours to make one book. So we were making just one book, it would be 3 hours. But we're making 50,000 books, so we got to multiply 3 times the 150.
So where did you get 150 from?
Where did I get 150 from?
Yeah, did you?
Uh,
I think I missed the whole step.
we multiplied 50 times 3.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
So we just came down 600,000, that number. 50,000, that number. Selling price multiple is 3. So since the selling price multiple is 3 and it's 3 hours, we simply multiply 3 times 150. Then we
And
took the bottom number 150, divided into the top number 600, and we got 4. Are there any questions?
So if it would have said 3, I mean 3 hours to a book, 3 books to an hour, the opposite of what it says,
Good.
then
That's why I put this column in here. Work this problem out now. Work this problem out with the option, with this option of 3 books per hour. So we just put in an option here of 3 books per hour. How does that change this problem?
you would have
You
to divide.
divide the 12 by 3
Well,
instead of multiplying it.
you got to start in this top box and go all the way down. So start in the top box and go all the way down, and at least let's see how it changes when we make 3 books per hour. So everybody take 5 minutes. Okay, with all those complicated calculations that you were making, the raw material cost is still going to be 2 times 10, 20. Okay? But what is the labor cost going to be now? What's the labor cost going to be?
$4.
How we get $4?
Divide 3 by 12.
So whenever we can make more than one in an hour, we divide. If it takes more than an hour to make it, we multiply. So we're going to take the 12, divide by 3, and so now our labor cost is $4. What about the manufacturing overhead?
Still 12.
It would still be 12. So what's our total cost now?
36.
Okay, 36. So you see the difference it makes in terms of your cost? And now what is the selling price going to be?
108.
So you got to be able to calculate the appropriate cost so that you can come up with the appropriate selling price. That's how we start the problem. Any questions?
So like on our assignment, it said estimated selling price. Is there a difference in like this example saying actual selling price?
No,
Okay.
you're setting that selling price early, so no change in that, no difference.
But if the question has an estimated and the actual selling price, you use the estimated though, right?
Yeah, you're never going to have that.
Okay.
When we sell an item, we even if we don't have it made, if I don't have that book made, I still have to say this is what I'm going to sell it to the bookstore for. I'm a publisher. So no matter what the costs are, you got to have your selling price. So you got to have spent your time looking at these numbers and make sure they're right. So that if your selling price is supposed to be 204, that's what you do. Or if it's 108, because if you mess it up, if your selling price is too high, people not going to buy it. If your selling price is too low, you're going to lose money. Now, what's my POR in this case?
36.
How do we get 36?
Uh,
600,000 divided by 16,667.
yep.
All right, so top number stays the same, 600,000.
You get the
Next number stays the same, what, 50,000. But because we can make 4 books in an hour, we got to divide 50,000 by 4, correct?
I thought it was
by
3.
3.
Excuse me, by 3 then, okay. So we divide 50,000 by 3, how much we gonna get?
6.
16,666.66 with
So we're
67.
gonna have, so this is still 3, but we're dividing, so this is gonna be what,
666.67.
16.67. Okay.
Can we round that up to like
Now you
67 instead of putting
probably
the
need to go
decimal?
2 decimal places. So always go 2 decimal places, or you possibly be too far off. So if it's 16,666.67, then what's our POR gonna be?
36.
36.
How much?
36.
Not
Well,
gonna
you
be.
said the double decimal, so 35.99, but mm,
So we're gonna do what? We're gonna take the 600,000, and we're gonna do what? Divide it by
Divided.
the 16,666.67, and that's gonna equal, as indicated. We will round that to 36. So you notice a big change in the POR. Are there any questions?
Oh, sorry.
Well, for the unit cost for the books, 3 books per hour, why did you divide instead of multiply?
If it's 3 books per hour, why did we divide? You're being paid 12, a couple of ways to look at it. You're being paid $12 an hour to make 3 books. The person who's making them gonna look at it this way. I paid $12 for 3 books. So what's the cost of each book? I paid $12 for 3 books. So if you paid $12 for
$36.
3 books, say what?
$36.
No, you paid $12 for 3 books.
Oh, 4.
Okay. In this case, it was 3 times, but in this case, the $12 is spread over here. The one book gets 3 hours. Here is 3 books for that $12. So you got to divide. Any other questions? So will I have more than one turn in next class period?
What do you mean
Well,
more than one turn in? Was each member of the group supposed to turn in like their own worksheet?
my preference would be to turn in as a team, but
Right.
Okay. Okay,
Okay,
good.
I get you.
I accidentally did the wrong problem.
Well, y'all should,
I did it though. I did it.
well, you should have sent it to your team, and if you had sent it to your team, then they would have straightened you out. That's the purpose of the team.
My team didn't do the assignment.
They didn't do the assignment.
Not that I know of. I think that's why I got it wrong.
Oh, that's
Well, I
why
didn't
you.
get it. That's why I got the wrong question, but I get what you're saying though. But my team didn't do it, so I just went ahead.
Hmm.
I was still confused on like what we was doing, so I just did exercise 6A B.
Yeah, at least two.
Okay.
But I
I was
wanted
supposed. Oh, I'm
wanted
sorry.
everybody to work at least two.
I
I
was
wanted.
supposed to do 7 C and D, but I did 6 C and D.
Well, that's fine
Okay.
for this. Now, when I'm sending you a test out there, I need to see the same test I sent you. But in homework case like this, something like this, we'll overlook that. But the thing is, if you don't make these calculations, and when you get ready to start making journal entries, you're gonna have some issues. Okay. So I've gone over it, rework it. Uh, I'll check to see how many submissions I got out and see what I'll do. But you got to have that done. So you got an extra day. So I won't take any excuses that you won't have it done, and then you have your 10-point quiz at the start of the next period for 15 minutes. The quiz will start at 6 and it'll be over at 6:15. Got it?
And the quiz will just be what we just did just now.
Yeah, I don't need to put anything else on.
Just making sure.
You want something else on it?
No, no, no. It's
I can
okay.
always I can always accommodate. Okay.
That's not what I was asking. I was just reassuring.
All right. Now,
This works. You get on Blackboard.
okay. Let's see what next happened in the problem. We go to stage one and the journal entry for stage one. The first thing we do, we form the corporation investing 50,000. We buy some equipment for 800,000, and then we purchase 110,000 ink cartridges at $10 each. Can you make those three journal entries? Can you make those three journal entries? Well, let's look at the first one. You form the corporation investing $50,000. So that's the first journal entry. And so we're in stage one, and we got to form the corporation. We'll buy the raw materials eventually. But can you make the first journal entry where you start a company investing $50,000? Can you make that journal entry? And
Yeah.
anybody, what's that journal entry?
That's credits, right?
I like debits first.
Well, your debit. No, my bad, my bad. Yeah, debit.
Well, what might we debit? Cash is coming in, so we assume we debit cash for $50,000. What might we credit? Common stock. So that's the first journal entry we're gonna make as we form, so this stage one, we're just forming the company and eventually we're gonna buy the raw materials. Now the second thing we did was what? We purchased 800,000 in equipment with a note. And that's gonna be a long-term note. So we're gonna debit equipment. Then we're gonna credit note payable. Of course, you're supposed to have your hard copies. So how much was this equipment? 800,000. These are stage one journal entries. And the key one that we talked about earlier as we get ready to make an item, and the first thing you got to do when you make your project, you determine what you're gonna make by the first class period in March. What's our first class period in March?
The fourth, I think.
February, get a 4. So your first 25 points on the project is based on you having identified that project. You got to
Where is
have it made for me after the break.
where's
So
this document at? I've looked at all of the ones that you posted on week 3, but I don't see it nowhere.
you don't see this one?
No, sir.
Does anybody else see it at all?
No,
No, I don't
No.
see it.
Me either.
just I'm just going with the flow.
Me too.
So there's no job order costing in class example anywhere?
No.
Okay.
Well, the one that is like posted, it's not that one. It's like a whole different one.
Oh, different one?
Yeah, it has like A and B questions, and then the journal that is posted isn't the same one that we're looking at right now.
Okay, so I'll get that in there to you while you make this next journal entry. So in this next journal entry, you purchased 110,000 ink cartridges at $20 each. You purchasing 110,000 ink cartridges at $10 each. So do a quick screenshot, a copy of this, because I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. 110,000 ink cartridges at $10, and then make that journal entry for me. Make that journal entry.
You credit ink cartridges for 1,100,000, and then
Now,
debit that and then credit cash.
when we buy inventory, how do we buy inventory?
Supplies?
We buy an inventory.
And inventory?
Yeah, we're buying, isn't that raw materials ink? That's the
Mm-hmm.
inventory we buying. Raw materials ink.
So when we put in the journal, do we put inventory? Do we put ink cartridges?
Put raw materials ink.
Got it.
See if you can make that journal entry for me.
We would credit cash though, right?
No, you don't pay delivery drivers. Got it?
Would it be accounts payable? Shh, Aron, be quiet.
Yes.
Yeah, your nipple, yeah. Sit down. Wait, sit down. Yes, sit down, no.
Okay. I guess I'm in Blackboard now, and go to that job order costing in class problem again. So you see job order in class accompanied records show the following data, accompanied records. Do you see that?
What was it called?
Job order in class costing in class problem. And the first thing you're going to see is accompanied records show the following data. Do you see that?
Let me see.
So that's going to be on the week 2, I think, or 3. But week 2 or 3. Does anybody see it?
I don't see it. I still see that first one, and then I see the template and the flow chart.
But you don't see a job order in class costing in class?
Well, the one that is there is, I think it's still the same one with the A and B questions. Yeah, it's the same one.
A and B.
I don't see any
See if
new
you can
one.
go further pages on it. See if you can go to some other pages.
Okay.
Just keep going with the pages on it. So once you finish those multiple choice,
Like, I don't see him.
okay, I'll just put another one in there.
Yeah.
Does everyone have that journal entry made though?
Could you put it back on the screen?
Yeah, I'm gonna put it back in just a second. Let's see if I can. Okay, you can see if it's in there now. Okay. Do we have this journal entry made? So we should have debited what? Raw Materials Inc. and credited accounts payable. How much is that going to be for?
110,000, I believe.
So that's 110,000 ink cartridges at 10 each. So that's
1.1 million.
1,100,000. So any questions? So we form a corporation, we buy our equipment that we need to make the item, then we buy the raw materials. In stage 2, we're ready for our stage 2 entries now. In stage 2, we're getting ready to make the item. So to make the item, the first thing we're going to do, transfer 100,000 ink cartridges to work in process. So that production will never stop, we buy more than what we need. Okay. If we need 100, we're going to buy more in case there's waste or whatever, or damage or whatever. And so we're going to make a journal entry debiting the work in process inventory and crediting raw materials inventory. As we put the raw materials in a warehouse and move it to the production floor as needed. And so the amount is going to be what? $1 million, correct? How would he get $1 million? When we bought the ink, it was 110,000 ink cartridges at 10. So when we bought the ink, 110,000 ink cartridges at $10. But we're only going to use 100,000 of the ink cartridges. And we're going to hold the others back in the warehouse. So that's going to be 100,000 at 10.
What does WIP stand for?
Work in process. The next thing we're going to do is record the actual direct labor hours. The workers actually work 152,000 hours. Now, if you remember, we estimated that it would be 150,000. But people missed work, they didn't come to class, took long breaks, And so it actually ended up being 152,000 hours that were worked at $10 an hour. We're going to debit work in process again. This time we're going to credit cash. And we're going to go back up here and say, okay, they worked 152,000 hours, and if we don't give them, no matter what they did when it comes time for pay, no matter what, you know, what happened, people want their money. So we got to pay them $10 an hour. And so we got to pay them $1,520,000. We're gonna credit cash $1 million. Any questions? And once again, in stage two, we've got to record the overhead. So notice we're recording raw materials, labor, and now overhead. We have to estimate the overhead. And I'm credit MOH, so we manufacturing overhead. We're gonna estimate how much we're gonna use, and we're gonna credit manufacturing overhead. So let's look at how we're gonna calculate it. We're gonna go to these same 152,000 hours. So whatever we use up here, we use here. And then you remember that POR that we calculated? That 4, this is where we use it. And so we multiply 4 times 152,000. How much do we have? Looks like 608,000. That's stage 2. Any questions on stage 2? Are there any questions on stage 2? And so those are the journal entries that you make all the time. If you got more than one raw material, you'll have more than one of those up here and more than one of those up here. But these journal entries don't change. And we're almost ready for stage 3. Because we put all of this, we brought everything together, the labor and the overhead, and we're ready, just about ready for stage 3, because our goal is to make the item, and we're going to debit finished goods, and we're going to credit work in process. So we bought the raw materials, we went to stage 2 and made the items, and now we're going to transfer these costs. We're going to transfer these costs to finished goods. So how much we going to transfer to finished goods? So now it's time to do some posting. And we're just doing a partial posting. For the raw materials, we had 1,100,000. We had 1,100,000. Then when we got to stage 2, we transferred 1,000,000 of it in the working process. So now we only have, about 100,000 left in raw materials. And all we're going to do, then we're going to transfer the labor and the overhead. So the 1,520,000 and the 608, so we make the journal entries, then we post them to the ledger. 1,000,000, 1,520,000, and 608. Now, how many were we supposed to make? How many items were we supposed to make? So when we started out, we said that we're going to make 50,000 units. Okay. So we're going to put the 50,000 here. Then we go, let's see how many we actually made. Well, we only completed 40,000 books. So we're supposed to make 50, but the workers were not as productive as they needed to be. And so only 40,000 books were made. So when we get ready to make our journal entry, we're going to transfer out everything. Now, 50,000 books were made, only 40,000 were made, and so we only made 80% of the books. So we get ready to take cost out of working process for the raw materials, that first thing in here, for the ink, we only taking out 80%. The rest of the raw materials will stay there to be finished next time. But we got to take out all of the ink, all of the labor, because the workers have been paid. Overhead goes with that because the property taxes and everything, utility bills have been paid. So the fact that you didn't complete them, the raw materials will be there. But as we get ready to get to our finished goods cost for the 40,000 that we transferred, we only gonna have 80% of the raw materials, all of the labor and all of the overhead. All of the labor and all of the overhead.
Okay, real quick, you said the 800,000 came from where? Is that like the equipment?
No, the second. Uh, we had 3,128,000 in costs to make this item. We had 3,128,000. But the ink will still be there, to work on the books for next time. But all the labor and all of the overhead comes out. So we're going to transfer out 2,000,000. Let's see, 2,000,000. This is 928 in cost. So let's see, 28, 8, 5, and 9. Let's see. Oh, that's 2,928. Let me just see. Clear. 800 plus 1,520. 6. That's 2,928. And so 200,000 is gonna be left in here. So I'll go ahead and post it now. We incurred 3,128 in costs, but only 2,000,000 is gonna be transferred out for 40. We only finished 40,000 books. So let's go back to our journal entries now, 2,928. And this journal entry is 2,028. So we make this calculation we make this calculation based on that tier count in terms of how much cost is going to finished goods. So we started out planning to make 50,000 books. We bring all the cost in, but only 40,000 books are made. So these are our journal entries in stage 1, 2, and 3. Are there any questions? Time for managerial accounting where you got to make the item. That's why you all are making the item and transferring it in. So we're going to finish this problem next time. We'll come back and review. We'll come back and review this calculation. You have that down now. We'll review stage 1 and stage 2 journal entries and stage 3. And then we're going to go on to stage 4 and 5 tomorrow. So we'll be reviewing stages 1, 2, and 3, and then we'll be going on to stages 4 and 5 tomorrow. 4 may be, kind of a little more difficult. So hopefully you do have this problem in there now. I hope is it in there? Is it in there now? Did it show up in Blackboard?
Yes, sir. It was cash flow 2. I mean, job order 2.
Correct. So make a hard copy of it and fill out what we've done today. Then have it so we can finish it next time. Or if you are, if you want to just start in Excel right away, that's fine. So next class period, hopefully, uh, let me stop sharing for a second. And let me go in here and just go into Blackboard for a second.
Can you post on your YouTube the part where you did the journal entries and the T accounts?
Say that again.
Can you post on your YouTube the part where you did the journal entries and your T accounts?
Correct. Well, what I'll do, I'll put this in Blackboard right underneath uh, uh, what I just put in. So I'll put it in right underneath that, okay?
Okay, thank you.
So you'll have that. Let me look at this. So I had 4 submissions. So I don't, were these team submissions? Todd, Bethany, Aisha, were these team submissions or individual?
For me, it was a team submission.
Okay.
Mine was an individual.
Well, get that team one together.
Well, no, that's cause when I had talked to you, you told me you wanted me to do them all, so I had did them all.
You did them all?
Yeah.
Hey, so you're going to be ready. Okay. Still work with your team.
All
Okay.
right.
So, we're in the manual, this is what the course is about. So we did our preliminary work and we reviewed financial accounting. So you have, to focus on that. So now, we get down to the brass knuckles of what we've got to do. So next class period, we will finish this problem up. So you'd have a complete example. Then next Tuesday, each team will be working on a problem by themselves. So next Tuesday, each team has a problem, a homework problem that they'll be assigned to work on. And then by next Thursday, another homework problem, individual. So each person will do their own by next Thursday. We'll work on it some more. And probably the Thursday before spring break, we'll do the midterm.
Are we gonna get a review for the midterm?
Are you going to get a review for the midterm? Sure. So I'll just have to see, how we'll come. This is the first week. We got the second week. Thinking it may, we'll see. Either 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks, but sometime in there we'll get the midterm done. And since you're going to have to make journal entries, post to the ledger, do a trial balance and financial statements, including the cost of goods manufactured, and we're going to review statement of cash flow since they were looking pitiful. So you have all of that. So once we schedule that midterm, you probably have about 3 hours to work on it. So you just need to schedule your time accordingly. We'll determine probably next Monday when we're going to do the midterm. Let's just say I'm giving you 3 hours, 69 to get the midterm done. So make your hard copies, plus be ready to work in Excel also, but let's get this problem done in Word. So you got a Word copy, so you sort of understand it at the basic level. Then we begin to use Excel as our numbers get larger. So I will post what we worked on today. I'll post that in Blackboard beneath the problem. I'll try to get the recording up before the night is out. And what should be happening is that I should be assigning each team some of those next stages, but we won't do that. We just work it together. But you should be looking at the next set of stages and seeing if you can work those and understand that they're pretty well straightforward. So you all have a great rest of your President's Day. I hope you help the economy by buying something today. And we'll see everyone on Wednesday. You all have a good evening, okay? Good evening.
Bye, you too.
Bye, you too.